welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. So today, guys, I'm gonna be talking about my experience with child abuse and child trauma, right? So when I was 7 years old, I was taken to go and live with my uncle and his family. So my uncle had 2 daughters, right? So I basically became the third one. So there was the oldest, and there was me, and then there was the youngest. So I was like in between them in terms of age. And then soon after we got there, we were divided duties, like duties were divided amongst us. The older one was to wash the place when we come back from school, when we get back home from school. So she was to wash plates, and then I was to water the lawn, and then the youngest one was to sweep the house. That was literally it. Don't forget that fact, because I will explain how it plays a role. Okay guys, so how it started is that a number of incidents happened that made me realize that I was being treated differently, right? So the first one was that Good Friday, I think, was to come in March, and it came. And then what happened was I had spent Christmas, New Year at the villages, and then I came to this place like in January that year. So what happened was, I remember when I was in school, I was so excited. When I was in school, I was very excited that we're gonna get new clothes for Good Friday, because that was the common practice. You get new clothes for Christmas, New Year, and then again for Good Friday, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get new clothes for Good Friday, yay! Okay, fine. A day before Good Friday, the parents came back actually with plastics to confirm that Vele, we got new clothes. Okay, fine, how exciting. So when they're opening the plastics, I realized things are coming out and the plastics are becoming empty, but there hasn't been anything for me. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Only to find out that, okay, the parents decided that because I spent my Christmas at home, people at the new place don't know what I was wearing on Christmas, so that is what I was gonna wear on Good Friday, because people don't know my outfits for the previous years. So the 2 sisters got new clothes and I didn't. And guys, that is the one incident, the first one, that really broke me. Like, that really sealed this thing in my head that, dude, you are being treated differently, like way differently. And because, guys, you need to know that the brain is actually wired to protect us. The brain is actually like just there to, every time it senses threat, it needs to be there to protect you. So what my brain did at that moment was to try and make sense of the situation. And what I actually got to think, and what made sense at that time, as I was a child at 7 years, I was like, okay, so I'm probably being treated differently because I don't belong here. Like, I don't belong here. I'm not for here. I'm not from here. I'm not their child. And to top it up, I'm light and they're dark. That was in my child mind. That is what I was thinking about at that time. And it really made sense because it actually got me through so much. Like, that very same fact that I actually believed that I don't belong here actually made me understand, like, when every time when everything bad happened, I would remember that, you know what, Nxavo, you don't belong here. But all these incidences, all this experience with the family in that 2 years really got me messed up mentally, because that's when a lot of things went wrong for me mentally, right? Those are the roots of my mental issues that I'm going to talk about in a new video, the next video, right? And so that went on. I remember another incident that actually showed me that also sealed the deal that I'm being treated differently, was that thing that, you know, when I actually got there first, I realized that here, when you do something wrong, they actually report you to the parents and you get shouted at. And that person was me. That person who was always being reported was me. Like, say maybe I come back from school late, or I'm the last one to come back from school and they don't know what I was doing, they would report. So what used to happen was that the parents would go to work in the morning and we would go to school, and then we would come back first and then they would come back later on. So I was being reported like almost every night, like Nxavo did this, Nxavo did that, and all the time I would be shouted at, and everything, like almost everything that she would say would really break me, like all the time. I was just being broken like every day and even now I still have a problem with people shouting at me. I don't want to be shouted at, please. So guys, that happened, and I realized, you know what, I'm being reported a lot, and me, where I come from, we never used to report anyone because firstly, there was no adult. Secondly, we thought and believed that we were a team, so we just went through everything together. But there, it was one man for himself, right? So they were reporting me, guys, and then I decided this one day that, you know what, I'm also gonna return the favor, because here I'm being snitched on, and I'm not snitching on anyone. So I'm just gonna snitch on someone, and then maybe they will get what I'm getting. Not even a maybe, I really believe that they're going to be shouted at the very same way that I was being shouted at. But guys, it did not go that way. It really did not go that way. So I remember I even rehearsed the speech in my head, and then I went ahead and I told her, I'm like, aunt, this and this happened, this one did that, and this one did that. And she was like, she just turned and then she looked at me and she was like, okay. Guys, I died. Like, I died that day. Like, how? Like, how is it possible that when I'm being reported, I get shouted at, I'm being promised to be spanked and all those other things, but when I report, the only thing that's being said is okay. Like, I died that night. I remember I cried myself to sleep, but that was not it. Like, a lot of things happened, and then I believe I started stressing so much, and then I started bedwetting, and that is when the whipping started. So I started bedwetting because I was just not happy. I was stressed. I believe my bedwetting resulted from that, and then that is when I would get a whipping. Like, every morning, if the bed is wet, I would get a whipping before going to school, like almost every day. Guys, I used to cry so much. Like, I would cry. I remember I would even consider running away, but I never actually gathered the strength to run away. That's why I'm here today. I would have run away because I thought about this for a very long time, like almost every day, and I would plan when I go to bed that this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to school and then I'm not gonna come back. But then I would get scared that what if I die of hunger? So I held on. And another thing I need to mention is that, guys, my uncle was really good to me. Like, my uncle really loved me. It was my aunt who was so bad. It was my aunt who was like, I don't know how to explain it, but she was so bad. And what hurt me was that I knew that my uncle loves me, but when those things were happening, he wouldn't say anything. Like, he would just keep quiet. So I really don't know what was happening, but I know that I was being treated differently, and I was being whipped, like, alone when there's the three of us. And sometimes the younger one would actually be the one that wets the bed, and they would actually say that it's me, and I would get a whipping. Like, imagine being whipped before going to school, and then you have to go to school and have a good day. Like, how possible is that, you know? So that's actually where my depression and my anxiety came from, because anxiety came in a way that every time they would come back from work, I would get really scared. Like, I would just be in a panic mode. I would get very anxious. Like, I'd be thinking to myself, what am I going to be reported on today? What is going to happen? How is she going to respond? Like, I became very scared of her. I would, like, my day would just get ruined the time she comes back from work, you know? And then I remember this one day, so there was a problem, you guys, because, you know, kids, you know how just kids love playing, right? So this one day, we came back from school. So instead of me watering the lawn, like, the lawn was occupying a very big space. So I think it literally took me an hour to water that lawn, right? Because I was I got a beating for watering it, like, not getting enough water, not giving it enough water. So I would actually get a beating for that. So I was told you need to water it for a very long time so that it can get enough water. Imagine that. But yeah, this video is not about me complaining, but it's about me explaining what really happened so that I can paint a picture for you guys, and then I will tell you how it affected me. So I remember this one day, we came back from school and the kids were playing, like, you know, the other sisters' duties shouldn't, like, they never used to take long. So they would come back and maybe take 30 minutes doing each of their duties, and I would be left alone watering the lawn. So this specific day I left, like I decided I'll first play and then I'll water the lawn around 4, so that when she comes back it's still wet, you know, because during the sunny days when I used to water immediately after school, when she comes back she would find it dry, and then I would have to water again at night alone outside, you know. And that day I decided I'm gonna water around 4 when she's due to come back, so that she can find it wet. Okay, fine, I played, and then we lost track of time. So I started watering. After I had started watering, I saw them approaching. My heart, guys, my heart, palpitations, Jehovah. It was really bad. So when I saw them coming, she saw me watering, and then she was like, you can stop. You know, when she was walking and she was calm, I know her to be that one person who's always shouting, but she was calm. She was like, you can stop, it's okay. And I was like, oh, okay, that is very strange. So what happened was there were renovations happening at home, so we would watch TV at the neighbors. Okay, fine, we went there, because what used to happen was she would come back and cook, and then while waiting for food we would be watching TV. So that day we left to the neighbors and we watched TV. It wasn't really like far, because there wasn't a fence to divide, so you would just literally walk from our yard to theirs, and then yeah. So when we were sitting there watching TV, I'm chilled, I'm still shocked, like what just happened, like how did I get off like so easily, you know. Guys, when I was still enjoying my TV, she walked in with a whip, and I'm sitting down, I'm watching TV, and she started whipping me like everywhere. My head, like I couldn't even protect myself. The whip was just going all over the place, and oh my goodness, that day. So she whipped me until the whip like was literally finished, because it was just scattered around, and then she had nothing to hit me with anymore, and that's when she stopped and then she left. That was another incident that really got me very bad. Like it hurt me so much, but now I'm able to speak about it because I'm over that, you know. So yeah, those are just some of the few incidences that happened during that time, but I believe I've painted a picture of what used to happen like every day, right? So I used to cry a lot, and I took the crying into my adulthood. I think it only stopped last year. Yeah, I believe it stopped. It got better last year, because that was the year that I became aware that this crying is not normal. Because before that, I really thought I'm just a crying person, but I'm not. It was just how I learned to deal with situations. I would just cry, because that was the only thing I could do. I was told, like when she would be shouting at me, she wouldn't allow me to respond or maybe explain the situation, like what happened, why did you do what you did. She would just be telling me things like, you are useless, you will never amount to anything, you don't listen, you're just useless. Those are some of the things that she used to say to me. So guys, how this affected me is that, first thing first, I learned to cry. Like I've just said, I cried a lot. Like that is just literally how I used to deal with situations. But how it ended, right, is that on the second year, when we actually went home for Christmas, for the Christmas holidays, because we would spend our Christmas holidays at home like every year. So that time when we went home, in January we were due to go back, because I think they had decided that they would take me for the long term, like for a long term. I would be with them for a very long time, and I was like, okay. So that year, what actually happened was we're due to return in January, and I got ready to return. And because like when we went home, my grandmother's place is also in that same village, so they would go to my grandmother's and I would go to my home. So what happened was I packed my clothes in a plastic, and then I dressed up, and then I went to my grandmother's place so that we can all live together. But what happened when I got there was that, okay, I found them, they were still not ready yet when I got there, so they started getting ready, and I was sitting outside waiting for them to get ready. But when I was sitting there, I was like, I don't want to go back there. Like, I don't want to go back there. I remember even crying, but alone. Like, I was sitting like this, outside waiting for them, and then I was crying. I was like, I don't want to go back there. Like, I was traumatized, guys. I was traumatized with everything that was taking place. The fact that I was suffering and no one was doing anything, no one was saying anything, you know. So I was traumatized. I was like, I don't want to go back there, but how do I deal with the situation? So what happened was I left. Like, I stood up and I went back to my place. Like, I walked to my home. It's not really far. And then I found my late brother, and he was like, what's going on? Why are you back? And I'm like, I lied. I lied, guys. I lied to him. I said, they say they don't want to go back with me anymore. And they was like, but where are your clothes? Like, I don't understand. And I'm like, they said they don't want me anymore. And he was like, okay, let's go so that we can take your clothes and they will explain everything to me. So before we could get there, they called and they're like, where's Nxavo? And then my brother's like, she's here. And then they were like, okay, go to your taxi station. We would pass by in a taxi and then we would get here. And then my brother was like, okay. So I was like, these people want you, let's go. And then I told him, I'm like, the truth is, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. So what he actually thought was, I'm better off there, because, guys, as much as my mom was sending money, it was never enough. Like, we used to lack a lot. So him seeing me coming back looking fresh, because I was fed. Like, I was fed. I was never starved at all. So he was like, you are better off there than here, because here we're having it hard and you are the youngest. So it's really bad to see you. It would really be bad to see you suffering. So he was like, go back. And I was like, okay. So he convinced me. We walked to the taxi station. And then we stood there for a while before the taxi showed up, and it finally did. I remember it was a Siaya, it was a red Siaya, and then I saw it coming, and I prayed that let this taxi, like, let it not be the one that they're in. Unfortunately, it was. So it stopped. Immediately when it stopped, I saw my aunt by the window, like she was sitting there. And I think my adrenaline kicked in. Like, that day I was just not having it. And then when I saw her, I ran, guys. Like, I ran away. I ran the opposite direction. I was like, I don't want to go back there anymore. And I was scared to tell them, like, I'm not going back with you guys. I was still a child. And I was taught, like, she literally taught me not to stand up for myself. She was like, if I'm talking, I'm talking. You don't talk back. You don't say anything. I'm going to shout at you with what I had, and that's it. So I really couldn't stand up for myself from that point onwards, and that is why I was bullied in primary school. I will explain that as well. So I ran away, and then I saw my brother, like, I ran and then I stopped, like, at a distance where I believed even if they were to run after me, they wouldn't catch me. I turned around and I watched, and then I saw them taking out that very plastic that I had packed my clothes in, and they handed it to him. And that, guys, was the end of my stay with my uncle's family. And that was the end of the period in my life that literally just set precedence for everything that I went through, everything that I experienced also in my childhood. That is the one period in my life that actually controlled, if I can put it like that, the decisions that I've made in my life, because that is where I was broken in that place. I was broken emotionally. I lost myself. I was just like, you know what, I'm just surviving. There's nothing that's happening here. And it left me being a people's pleaser, because the way she was never satisfied with what I did, the more I actually tried to do a lot of things to gain her approval, to actually please her, you know. So I actually got used to wanting to do things to gain approval, to be to be validated. Like, I wanted her to say to me, you did well here, because I remember even with my results from school, she would have so much negative things to say, and I just literally just lived my life trying to please her. And that very same thing I grew up with, being wanting to be validated, being a people's pleaser, just wanting to be liked by everyone. I grew up with that thing, and that is how the child abuse affected me, basically. I'm not sure if I'm leaving anything, but yeah, the people that know me, like the people who have lived with me for a very long time, they know that I used to be a crybaby. I am a people's pleaser. Like, I just want to be liked, like, all the time. I wanted to be liked all the time. Right now, I don't even care anymore. but that is how it affected me. I just always wanted to be validated. I wanted to be complimented, because I couldn't do these things for myself, because I didn't know, I was worthy, because she treated me like I wasn't anything. Like, that is how my brain made sense of all that was happening. Like, Nxavo, you don't really matter, you don't matter. She does not see you as important as the others, so just chill. Try to do what you can to please her. Maybe she will like you, maybe you'll start mattering, so that is how I grew up. Those are the things that I took into my adulthood. I did say in the previous video that I was toxic, and that is where my toxicity came from, because I had always tried to please her, and in the midst of pleasing her, I also had to learn to cope with the situation that she was putting me in. Like, I would shut down, because I told you guys that she would tell me that you don't respond when adults are speaking, and I would just literally shut down. Every time she shouted at me, I would just shut down. So even when I got into my relationships, when my partner is angry, and I can't handle people that are angry, I just literally just shut down. I couldn't handle him. I was just like, you know what, we'll talk when you come, because I felt attacked, So yeah, that is why this channel is all about healing, because I believe we need to heal. I believe that I suffered in her hands, because she also had other things that she was not healed from. That is why I want so much to heal, and I want so much to try and challenge someone to also heal, because when we don't heal, we actually take out our pains on other people, and that will only result in, from generation to generation, generations that are just broken and are continuing to break each other, So yeah, that's basically it. And how I'm dealing with it is that I decided that I'm gonna forgive her, and one of the reasons for that being that the very same fact that she probably went through so much during her childhood or in her marriage, I don't know, but it's a point that it's a fact that she's probably just not okay, and she decided, you know what, I'm gonna take it out on this child because she's not mine. So I looked at it like that, and I'm like, I'm gonna forgive you, because I don't think you did that intentionally. There's just some things in you that maybe you felt better about when you were actually taking out your anger on me, right? So I forgave her. And the most important part, I became aware of what was happening. Awareness, guys, awareness. Be mindful of what's happening within you. Be mindful of what's happening in your head, what you are doing. When you're aware that this is happening right now, it becomes easier to deal with it. And I could make sense of it, because I was aware that, Nxavo, you're crying too much. Why are you crying too much? And then I got to remember that, I used to cry too much then. So chances are, okay, this is how it started. So chances are, this is why I'm still crying even today. And that is how I got rid of it. I don't cry anymore. I just don't cry anymore. Compared to the way that I used to cry back then, because I would just literally cry about everything. So I became aware, I forgave her, I faced my demons, the shutting down. I would try by all means that I actually talk even when I feel like shutting down. How it started is that when I shut down, I would actually say that I'm shutting down right now, I can't talk, just let's do something, let's go outside, let me take a walk or something like that. So that's how I got rid of the shutting down, the crying. That's how I dealt with it. So guys, just one advice from me, not even an advice, but the message that I'm preaching every day: let's heal from all these things that have hurt us. Let's heal from all these pains that we have inside us, because they are manifesting, and how they manifest is through our behaviors, and they continue hurting the people that we love. So it's really important. It's the best thing that you can ever do for yourself, to actually heal and become a better person, and become the person that you actually wish to be. And that will only come from awareness. If you're aware that what you are living is actually not good, then you'll be able to deal with whatever problem that you are facing. So guys, that's it for today. I hope I didn't leave anything out. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to click like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to share, and finally don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much guys, I really appreciate you. Until the next episode, keep well. Bye bye.